Gerald Colton and Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro.
Good evening and welcome to Chickies and Pete's in Marlton, New Jersey for the All-Pro Philly Players Show. This is our final installment, a wrap of what has been a glorious season. We had 16 out of 17 victorious Victory Mondays, and of course we are here after the Philadelphia Eagles won Super Bowl 59 by crushing the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22 just 8 days ago in New Orleans, Louisiana. We appreciate everybody who's helped us all through this season. A great group of Philadelphia Eagles players have come out every week. And tonight, we are joined by an Eagles legend who has remained part of the Philadelphia Eagles for over 40 years, since being the first pick out of North Carolina State back in '82, right, Mike?
Yes.
and now being the long-term color commentator on the great broadcast with Merrill Reese. We've got Eagles legend and now owner of 2 Super Bowl championship rings himself, Mike Quick.
Oh, why, thank you. Thank you very much.
And Mike is a local here with his kids having gone to Cherokee High School, so he knows the area well.
I do.
Has spent a lot of time at Chickies and Pizza. We just have so much to talk about of what was, to me, the most glorious, greatest season in Philadelphia Eagles history, and an amazing Super Bowl, and just so much for this whole region to celebrate. And everybody's been celebrating, Mike, for a long time. So first of all, how did you spend your Valentine's Day? No, I'm just kidding. I know you had a nice ride down Broad Street and got to participate in your second Super Bowl parade. But have you recovered yet from New Orleans and the 8 days in between? Give you a little bit of respite?
Gerald, we are still celebrating. Yeah, it's been such a blast. Like, the entire season has been so good. Quite honestly, I'm tired. So it's not just the 3 preseason games. It's then the 17 weeks of the regular season. And then when you're fortunate enough to do what the Eagles have done this season, it's a long freaking season. And yes, I am tired at this point. Each and every week of the season, my Monday is very similar. My Tuesdays are similar. My Wednesdays are the same. So, once you get off that wheel for all of those weeks, it's time to just exhale, take a break. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm just taking it down. And if I didn't really like you, I would have just stayed home and did nothing tonight.
I got it.
Because that's really what I felt like doing. I felt like sitting home and watching mindless television and just vegging on the sofa.
You got a few weeks to do that after this, but I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely.
You are an incredible friend, and thank you for coming out and joining all of us here. And truly, you are one of the real Eagles legends, and the whole community appreciates you, and is really lucky to have you. And it's not just you, though you're number one in my book, but it's a whole organization, the people that have played for the Eagles, they're part of the Eagles for a long time. And truly, Mike, in my opinion, this was just the most special team of all.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. First of all, you're on point when you say that it's a special organization, and I do truly believe that. I look at the ownership of this team, and I think it all starts there, and I think that makes a huge difference. What I was blown away with, probably as much as anything, when we go to New Orleans, and I see, because I'm over there a lot at the Eagles complex, and I see the guy who cleans the toilets. I see the guys who cook the meals. I see all of these people that work around that facility. Jeffrey Lurie made sure that they all were there. Dude, to me, that was a big, big deal. Like, all of these people, the security guards who make sure that the right people are coming through the gates, the people who park the cars, the people, not just the people up in the pretty suites where the big offices are, but everybody in that organization had an opportunity to go to New Orleans and witness what happened with, as you said, the best team in my eyes that this franchise has ever had.
And I really don't think it's close. We only have one other Super Bowl, and that was 7 years ago, and that was a terrific team, and the first one we ever had. But this one is just flat out better, and it's not any knock on them.
They're better. They're dominant. They proved so. I thought about this, and I had a conversation about it. When did I see a defense so dominant in a Super Bowl? And I think you have to go back to, unless you go to the Steelers and the Steel Curtain, I think you have to go back to '85, the Chicago Bears. and how good the Chicago Bears were in that Super Bowl when they beat New England. This, to me, was the most dominant performance against a team that we all thought was about to, well, many of us thought were about to three-peat. They certainly.
I didn't think so. You didn't.
I didn't think so. They certainly thought that they were about to three-peat. But because this defense is so dominant, because they are so well schooled, it was just a runaway from the start.
But then on the flip side of that, of course, is the Eagles' offense.
Yes.
And that's playing against a great Kansas City defense.
Yep.
And they took care of business on that side of the ball as well. I mean, it was just such a total dominating performance. And, Jalen Hurts, there's so many things I want to touch on. I want to go through the time down in New Orleans, and I want to go through a lot of members of this Philadelphia Eagles team. But let's start with Jalen Hurts. Because the day after they win the Super Bowl and he gets the MVP, I get texts from people I know all over the country telling me, it wasn't Jalen, it was all the defense. Jalen's still just, an average quarterback. And it is just, he's never been appreciated to me for how great he is. And this team was certainly built with a great defense, an amazing offensive line. To me, the best running back season in Eagles history, maybe the NFL history.
Yep.
Receivers, to me, the best receiving core in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Great
is
pair.
You and Harold, or these two guys.
It's these two guys. I'm clear on that.
You're saying what? These two guys?
I'm saying that these two guys, the best pair of receivers that, as you said when you started the show, I've been around here 40 some years. I was 10 when I got here.
County.
But but this pair of receivers, I think, is the best pair of receivers we've ever had in Philadelphia.
And that's fine. And they're both terrific. They're both number ones. They both could be dominant in their own right. But this team didn't win because of them, which says how great this team is, that they didn't have to rely on that, because the offense really relied more on the ground game, and they annihilate everyone in the ground game. But Jalen, to me, had a job to do, and he did it so well. And he was such a big reason why they won. And maybe he's not the best quarterback. Maybe the Allens, the Mahomes, the Jacksons, and people want to point to a whole lot of other guys. Yeah. But he was the right quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles and has been for a while.
He's the reason they won.
You think he's the reason? Well, that's
so listen, a quarterback, what is a quarterback primarily asked to do?
Take care of the football.
He's asked to do two things, Cheryl. He's asked to score points. He's asked to win games. He did that. He did that over and over and over and over and over again.
Did it better than anyone in the National Football League.
Did it better than anyone in the league. Even the last time that they played the dynasty, that is the Kansas City Chiefs, in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, Super Bowl 57, he outplayed Mahomes in that game.
I know.
On the biggest stage. So he had two mistakes in that game, which cost him the game.
And they were very unfortunate.
But he outplayed him on the biggest stage in back-to-back performances.
And he got cheated in Super Bowl 57 2 years ago of having that opportunity to have the ball down 3 in those last 2 minutes. But we can't go backward.
Can't go backwards. Like A.J. Brown said, we can't rewrite history, but
well, just a couple of things.
We can make the score even.
And there we did. And if we have to play the rubber match next year, God, we'd all be happy and lucky to do so.
For sure.
And bring it on. Because, Mike, it's so funny. You were all over the National Football League through your whole career here. And Kansas City was always kind of a nice place. And this little rivalry between the Eagles and Kansas City is interesting because you have Andy Reid over there, and the Steve Spagnuolos and the Rick Burkholders and Mark Donovans and so much apart. And then you've got the Kelsey brothers, which make us feel like family. And, obviously Taylor Swift didn't realize that she'd be booed when they put her on the screen. but
that was fun.
It doesn't feel the hate that you normally do in a rivalry, like a Cowboys type thing.
Right.
But it was really interesting down there because 2 years ago in Arizona, the Kansas City people are all nice. They were jerks down there, Mike, and you might not have felt it. But I was places with my son Tucker where they're cursing out the bartenders, they're yelling at people, they were gruff all the time. And I developed a real dislike for them during my few days down there. And I liked watching them literally have nothing to cheer about the entire football game.
I'm sure that the arrogance has kind of trickled in, not only just the players, because they are arrogant. That those players, very, very arrogant, and you can tell by just the way they carry themselves. But I think that is now trickled over into their fandom, and their fans are very much like their players. They think that when they walk onto the field, they're going to win, and in a large part over the past few years, they have. Patrick Mahomes has been the best quarterback in the league for maybe the past 5 years or so. And so they didn't see this coming. Although I have to think that Andy Reid, being the astute mind that he is, being the guy that he's watched so much football for more than I'll ever watch, I have to think that Andy kind of knew what he was up against. And he realized that his offensive line really didn't match up with the Eagles' defensive line. And that's where the game was so dominant, so one-sided, because the Eagles' defensive line just took apart that offensive line. It's as simple as that. There were many times when they went to a 6-man and a 7-man protection against just 4 rushers to try and slow down what was happening to them, and they still could not keep these 4 men off of their quarterback. That's a big, big deal.
And it's incredible. And I do want to touch on all different guys that contributed, and it's pretty much everybody on that roster. But it was the development of these guys over the last couple of years, and especially this year.
Yes.
At the start of this year, some of these guys who were so dominant in the Super Bowl weren't expected to do that, or weren't even hadn't done anything like that in the past.
Yeah, I know.
And so
I know.
It was so great to watch, because coming to the season, Mike, I remember seeing you in Rittenhouse Square the summer of the Super Bowl 57 year. And the Eagles had won the Super Bowl a few years before, 52. It was 5 years later. They took a little sag, as often happens after a Super Bowl.
Sure.
And going into that 57 year, I thought, man, this is a really good team. And I saw you, I go, Mike, this is a really good team. He goes, I know. and I loved your reaction. And it was a great team.
Yeah.
And could have been a Super Bowl champ.
Yes.
But it wasn't as good as this team. But going into this year, I just had the real question I had going into this year, because I knew Barkley and this offensive line were really going to get it done. I mean, you mentioned the receivers and Dallas Goedert, but it was the defense was a real question, because they had not ended last year well, and they had a lot of new parts.
Right.
The 2 kids at corner with Quinyon Williams and getting Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
You hoped the first and second pick were good. You didn't know they were going to be that good that fast.
Yeah.
And then you also brought back CJ GJ, who you really missed the year before.
Yeah.
Made a huge difference. And then this linebacking crew, because they made 2 big signings. Howie Roseman did so many things incredibly, but he missed on 2 signings, and that didn't hurt him. They missed on Devin White at middle linebacker, and they missed on Huff at the end.
He fixed it.
But he did so many great things that you can afford that if you're as deep as you are, and you're throwing all those things. And if you missed, no big deal. The fix was there elsewhere. And they hit on so many draft picks over these last 4 years. You're laughing at me.
Yeah.
I'm so excited at what they did.
Yeah.
And I'm so amazed. But going into the year, we didn't know that Zach Bond was anything. We didn't know for sure that Nakobe Dean could actually play, because he hadn't been healthy.
Right.
We didn't know for the Nolan Smiths, who got better during the season. The 2 huge tackles from Georgia, we hadn't seen them play dominantly yet.
Yeah.
And then Jalix Hunt, we didn't even know his name or his school. And so it developed into this unbelievable defense that you just said was the most dominant since at least Super Bowl 40 years ago.
So do you understand why?
I do, but I want to hear the expert tell me.
No, I want to know what you think.
What I think, first of all, there were so many big acquisitions by the Eagles this year,
Yeah.
and Vic Fangio may have been right up there with the Saquon Barkleys and a few others.
I love that, because you're right in the right neighborhood. And it's, to me, the difference between what we had going on this year and what happened last year, when after 11 games, it felt like they fell off of a cliff. They were just not a well-coached team last year. The difference is the coaching staff that they have right now, and because of the success, they're going to lose some of these guys. They've already lost Kellen Moore. They'll lose more. But this coaching staff, they are so unbelievable with their detail, with the attention to detail, and all of the little things that they harp on each and every day. I love their cornerbacks coach and their safeties coach. Both of those young guys, they are going to be excellent coaches in this league for a long, long time. The guy that they brought in as the linebackers coach did a phenomenal job. Bobby King, he did a phenomenal job.
Because when Nakobe goes down, Oren Burke steps in, and they don't miss a beat.
They were ready. Yeah, they both were ready because they were well coached. the defensive ends coach. So you've got one guy who coaches the guys in the trenches, the big guys, the Jordan Davises and the Jalen Carter. One guy in Clint Hurt who coaches those guys, but you got Washburn who's coaching the edge rushers, and those guys spend so much time on all the little details, and to me, it makes all the difference. Now, Vic Fangio, he is the guy that's pulling all the strings in all of this, but he's giving them the marching orders. He's giving them the detail and exactly how he wants each technique played, and they are coaching those techniques. And what was really impressive in the Super Bowl win is some of these guys had opportunities to go get the quarterback, but they're disciplined. They stayed in their lanes. They made sure that they were squeezing the pocket. Rather than one guy going off and losing the continuity of that pocket, they stayed in their lanes. They made sure that they squeezed the pocket down so that they got to Patrick Mahomes. Like the detail like that, there's so much detail that when I sat back and I watched this game again, it just kind of pops off the page that, man, these guys are so well coached.
And every single guy contributed. Every guy did a great job. And Mike, one of the things, I'm watching the game, and it was like, I really did expect the Eagles to win. I thought they would win big. I thought their only danger of losing this game is if it was close at the end and this Mahomes magic of knowing how to win a game. So
no, we all were concerned about that.
Kind of
that was it.
That was the risk. But as it was progressing, what you're saying is exactly right. And we have seen Mahomes extend plays, run around, and do all that stuff. They didn't let him do that by what you just described. No. And it was just glorious to watch. And he almost got killed at one point later in the game. But like on the position coach stuff, having represented players for a long time, every one of my players has always told me their most important coach is their position coach. And if they have a good one, it helps their career a ton. And they really notice it if they don't have a good one, they go from a good one to a bad one. And you just highlighted that each one of these position coaches, who most people don't know their names, they will, because Steve Spagnuolo was here as a D-backs coach, assistant D-backs coach initially, and the Harbaughs and all that started out that way. And you're saying they have guys on this staff right now that will be head coaches of the Eagles.
I absolutely believe that.
And
there are some really bright young coaches that I just enjoy watching these guys work. I watch them. I like to follow them. And it really started for me in training camp. Just watching the secondary work, because I like to see the secondary work because I need to know who the receivers are going to be going against and, that whole thing. I like that matchup. When they do one-on-ones, I like to stand there and watch the one-on-ones.
I'm curious. You as a color commentator, but played receiver.
Yeah.
Do you watch the ball? Or are you watching sort of the?
I can't follow the ball.
You don't follow the ball.
No, I'm not. That's not my job.
Which is what?
That's Merrill. That's Merrill's job. Merrill follows the ball. That's his job. Yeah. That's his job. But just watching the way these guys would break down things and teach what they teach, and it was fun for me. And I knew that they were going to be good because I knew how detailed they were in their approach each and every day.
Well, look at a guy like Reed Blankenship, one of our guests on this show this year. Yeah. Just such a great guy. Reed and this whole team is made up of great people. Yeah. For me, I'm so lucky that
he wasn't even drafted.
He was, and that's what I want to point out. He was not even drafted.
Middle Tennessee State.
Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah,
and and guys like him generally don't make the league. If they do it short term, he started early on and has stayed that way. You would have thought at one point, well, that's a weakness. They got to get better, and he just has gotten better and better. And he is the closer. He makes big plays all the time.
That's correct.
And by the way, just as a compliment to him, when he sat here with me this year, he said, and he was talking about his young bride. And he married his D coordinator's daughter, but he did not date her until after he was done college.
Okay.
And his coach, just as a compliment to who he is, said, "If I would love you to be my son," when he was playing for him. And then afterwards, he winds up marrying his daughter and is actually his son. If that's not a tribute to the person he is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So good stuff. No one ever said that about me. But anyway, the other part was down there, And I ran into you a few times, and you're talking about how you just want to go back and kind of rest now. You kind of want to do the same thing while all craziness is going around New Orleans. But I know you were there focusing on Sunday, and
right.
Sunday was game day for you in a big way.
It was a work trip. It was a business trip for me. It wasn't, I got a chance to go to dinner and see some friends, but for me, I went down like players. I went down for the business of it.
And then, did you make it to Jaws's party? Because Jaws has a
I did. I went
that's
to
a
the
legend.
cigar
You
party.
belong with that, your old teammate.
That's a Thursday night, usually the week of the week before the Super Bowl game, at Thursday night, and that's usually when I come to town.
It was just so terrific being down there. Mike, New Orleans is sort of a second home to me because I've represented a lot of New Orleans Saints. And my guy Jyrie Evans spent his whole career there. My week, and so I want to talk to you about another old one of our Eagles guys who got into the Hall of Fame this week, and that's Eric Allen. And after 19 years after his last down of playing, he finally got in. But Mike and Jyrie Evans, who was my partner on the show until he took his job coaching down in New Orleans, he was one of the 10 finalists, and he didn't make it to the top 5. But they only, and it's only his third year of eligibility, so hopefully it's coming. He's a guard. It's a little different situation.
Right.
But unbelievably, Mike, in the political sphere of the way Hall of Fame works, they only elected 4, and they always elect 5. And 2 of the guys hadn't played in a while because Sterling Sharp hasn't played since the 90s. Eric hasn't played. And it's so ridiculous in the history of NFL to only have 4 guys go in. The other guys, it was Jared Allen and Antonio Gates. It's like, come on, don't waste a spot.
Yeah, but God, there's so many guys that, are they all really Hall of Famers?
Pardon me?
Are they all really Hall of Famers?
Well, that's a discussion for another day, so we could go on with that one. Are they all?
Yeah, I know.
I believe there's people in there that are not.
But I'm so glad that
I think you're a Hall of Famer.
No,
and had you not,
so I'm so glad that Eric Allen is in, because I think Eric Allen certainly deserved to be in, and this probably took a little bit too long. Just looking at what he did, not just here, but when he went to the Raiders. He was still one of the best players at the position
and finished
in the National Football League, and then down in New Orleans. He was a great player everywhere he went.
A playmaker like crazy, a wonderful guy. And we had 2 people from Philadelphia very instrumental the way it works, because there's 50 writers pretty much for this, right? There's a couple other guys involved. Like
and I know Sal was behind him. I know Sal was
and
pushing
Paul
it.
Domowitch.
And Paul Domowitch.
And I got to give Paul a tip of the cap too, because
absolutely.
He was really great. Isaiah Rodgers is texting me as we speak, and that's another guy who's out here. Isaiah Rodgers is a great story that people don't appreciate.
He's a fun guy. He is a fun young man,
and he's fast and he's good. And he
really
was
fast.
A member of the Indianapolis Colts. Got caught in a kind of garbage gambling thing that he was just helping family members out. Cost him a year and getting cut from the Colts.
Nah, it was good for us.
Was that?
It was good for the Eagles. Yeah.
And Howie brilliantly picked him up. He knew he had to sit out for a year. And look how much he contributed. I can still see him running down the sideline in the snow, picking up the fumble and some other great stuff. And that's how deep this team was. That guys like him were just picked up really off the scrap heap and played such big roles.
Howie's special. What Howie Roseman has done with this roster and the roster construction is it's really special.
So you rode with the Eagles, of course, down Broad Street and then up the Parkway and for that phenomenal ceremony and tribute the other day. And how he got pegged.
I heard.
Can you describe it up close?
So when he walked up to me, I said, "Come here, man. I got to get a picture of that." And I take a close-up picture, and you could see the can. You could see the indentation of the can on his forehead.
I'm glad
so
we didn't
clear.
lose. We didn't lose him going into this, off season where he's going to have to make some critical decisions.
No, he has been great. And I thought about that when we went to training camp back in the summer, and I'm looking at the talent at all the positions, and I'd seen it before, and I'm thinking, man, this is really, really good. I don't know where they're going to go because I didn't know how good Fangio would be. I didn't know how good Kellen Moore would be. But I could see, even back in training camp, that the roster was strong. The talent on the roster just looked really strong at every position.
Well, it was one of those things, Mike, where the Eagles were already a playoff team, despite the fact that the wheels fell off last year. And only 2 years removed from almost winning the Super Bowl, probably should have won. So you knew you still had a good base.
Right.
Although You lost Fletcher Cox. You lost Jason Kelce. Kelsey's a sure Hall of Famer. Cox is a maybe, but two of the long, stalwart, great players. If Cox was the best defensive player, I thought, on the team going down the stretch last year. And so you remove them, and what happens? Jurgens slides over from guard. You sign a guy, Becton, who steps in that no one expected anything of, and he did a terrific year, and he's one of the guys now you got decisions on. And in place of Fletcher Cox, you had both Carter and Davis step up, and, I mean, you know, the year that Carter had, he's now the best defensive tackle in the league.
Hold on. What about Milt Williams?
That's what I was going to get to. Milton Williams, who has been here, and nobody knew his name. Milton Williams is now, he's a guy that I think they have to figure out how to keep, whether it's franchise tag or something, because he has risen to one of the best defensive tackles in the league. And then you're going to have to deal with Sweat. You're going to have to deal with Bond. You're going to have to deal
There's a lot to deal with, but who does it better than Howie?
Nobody. And
no one manages the cap better than Howie Roseman. And I don't know how, but there are always these situations where we're told that they're up against the cap, and then somehow he's able to massage what he has and bring in a guy that he really needs.
Well, there's $6 million or so in cap room, but that can be played with.
That can be maneuvered.
Because it's not a hard cap, and you can defer money. You redo contracts.
Correct.
And you give him signing bonuses and spread out. Mike, in my own personal relationship with Howie, I've been dealing with him since the late 90s when he came in under Joe Banner, and he was Joe Banner's lackey. but we've always had a good relationship.
Yeah.
And I've always admired how smart he is on the cap stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if one or two veterans that you're not hearing the names might not be here next year. But that's to be dealt with.
That's going to happen.
And that's just the price you pay when you're so.
That's going to happen. Just like you just said, you lost Fletcher Cox to retirement, and you lost Jason Kelce, and everyone think, oh, Kelsey's gone. What's going to happen? Well, it worked out.
But Mike, and on that same note, I want to come back to the cap for a second, but so Jurgens plays center all year. He gets hurt for the NFC Championship game. So you move Dickerson over, who hasn't played center since whenever.
Yeah.
And so you take your all-pro left guard, you put him at center, you put Steen, who's a draft pick who hasn't really played many meaningful downs. Right. And then Dickerson gets hurt, and Jurgens, who's only dressed as an emergency player, comes in and plays great.
Yeah.
This team had so much depth, so much. Everyone contributed. They always say next man up. This was next man, like all the way down the line.
But I would say that goes a little deeper than just depth. That goes to who these men are. The fact that they're not going to let the guy next to them down. They work with this guy so much next to them, they do not want to let that guy down. And if it's any way possible that they can get their bodies on the field and do what they do, they know that the team is going to be better with them on the field. Landon Dickerson, he was unbelievable all year long. And on one leg, because he's having surgery this week. He injured his leg in the game against Washington, the championship game. And many guys would not have played 2 weeks later. But this guy, he made one of the best blocks in the Super Bowl that I've ever seen an offensive lineman make in my entire life.
Describe the play.
So he's got Chris Jones, one of the best defensive linemen in all of football. He's got to block Chris Jones, but he sees out of the corner of his eye, he sees the linebacker blitzing. That was Dana, 51, blitzing. And somehow he passes Chris Jones off. He makes a complete spin around and gets right in front of Dana. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It is the best block. Just like I went crazy when Saquon hurdled a guy backwards. This was one of the best blocks I've ever seen by a big 340, 50-pound man.
The game was such a blowout that I actually haven't gone back and watched it. I always do, but I haven't. I will go back and watch it.
You have to see that.
I'm going to watch the whole thing.
I'm
going to enjoy it.
You'll see him. He comes off of Chris Jones, and he just makes a complete spin and gets right in front of the linebacker who's blitzing. And he picked up that blitz.
And who picked up Chris Jones?
So he passed Jones off to
probably
Cam.
Okay.
No, he passed him off to Cam.
Okay, right, just right next to him. But that's part of the continuity. And you mentioned the assistant coaches. I mean, is there a better one than Statler?
No.
Okay.
No. So he's in a different category. He's not even like an assistant coach anymore because he is a mainstay. As long as he wants to coach in Philadelphia, he's going to be the offensive line coach. And I don't think any offensive line coach will have a better contract than Jeff Stoutland at any point in his career.
He deserves really head coaching money, certainly coordinator plus money.
Yes.
And all right, we're going to take a quick break. Mike, I'm so excited talking to you about all this stuff. I don't want this.
Dude, there is a lot to talk about now that I think about
Right,
it. There's so much going on.
And I don't want the feeling to go away. We've got a lot of months till football starts up again. We're the world champions until that time, and really forever.
We are the champions, my friend.
Keep it going. I saw Jordan the night after the parade. I go, Jordan, how hard was this to sing a cappella? Where you're not hearing it because he did that. But keep going. That was pretty good.
No,
We're going to take a break here. We are Chickens and Pizza in Marlton, New Jersey. We are wrapping up the Eagles' fantastic championship season of 2024 and victory in Super Bowl 59. We're here with the legendary Mike Quick, who's going to sing us out to break right here on Fox Sports.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.
Heads up, we've got a crash on the Schuylkill westbound. It's crawling approaching Belmont to the Conshohocken Curve. Eastbound side, Jane, Conshohocken to Gladwin with a Gabriel delay. The Vine Expressway eastbound tied up Schuylkill to Broad. Watch for a crash in Upper Moreland, Blair Mill Road at Easton Road. In Lower Gwinnett, Penland Pike is blocked between Old Penland Pike and Pershing Boulevard. That's due to utility work. Lara Totella, total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Tap into your well-being with Audible audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Expand your life with expert insight and motivation for better health, habits, relationships, finance, and more. Start listening free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com.
Hi, it's me, your USPS Ground Advantage shipment. Just left the warehouse and hitting the road.
I know. Just got the notification.
Great. Smooth sailing so far. I'm almost there.
Yes, I know. I get all the updates.
Made it. Safe and sound.
I know.
Well, did you know I was with USPS the whole time?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Keep your business in the know with the USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
This Saturday, February 22nd at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, it's the Pro Volleyball Federation's first All-Star match. The league's biggest stars will clash in a can't-miss event hosted in the Indy metro area, home of the Indy Ignite. Catch every serve, spike, and save live on CBS. Don't miss this historic showdown of volleyball's finest. The Pro Volleyball Federation All-Star Match, this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Be there. Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anyone else, and we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
My name is Kyle Tequila, host of the shocking new true crime podcast, Crook County.
I got recruited into the mob when I was 17 years old.
People are dying. Is he doing this every night?
Kenny was a Chicago firefighter who lived a secret double life as a mafia hitman.
I had a wife and I had 2 children. Nobody knew anything. He was a crazy man.
He was my father, and I had no idea about any of this until now. Listen to Crook County on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Crook County to start listening.
Hey, man, you all right? Need me to call 911? No, call Top Dog Law. Get top dollar for your accident at topdoglaw.com. Once again, that's topdoglaw.com.
Welcome back to Chicks and Pizza in Marlton, New Jersey, the All-Pro Philly Players Show. I'm Gerald Colton along with Eagles legend Mike Quick. We are having a great time talking about the Eagles championship team, Super Bowl 59, and just some wonderful people that made this happen. Mike, one of the things that you and I were both talking about is that sports is so much more than sports. I love sports for so many reasons.
Yes.
I have spent my whole life involved in some way. My uncle was equipment manager for the Sixers championship team in '83. I got the privilege of riding down Broad Street on a float, and I had nothing to do with the team, but one of the great highlights of my life. That was on my 21st birthday, actually. And Sixers, of course, haven't had another parade since, and might not for a long time. But the Eagles have had 2 recently, and what it did for this community, you do not have to be a fan of football per se, but everyone in this community is so passionate about the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I say the community, I'm talking about the region that spreads far and wide. When you're down in New Orleans or any road game, but New Orleans in particular, it was only green. It was, it's at least 80+% Eagles everywhere. And they just mean so much to this community. And it's so much more than football sports. And you have been able to be a part of it for so long. And truly, in the time you've been part of it, the Eagles have only grown. The NFL wasn't where it is now. Back in 1982 when you came in. This town was a baseball, maybe even basketball town. The Eagles hadn't been successful for a long time. Dick Vermeil gave him a little charge, but the Eagles rule now, and the NFL rules, and the Eagles rule the NFL. So it's just a great time to be part of the organization, and we hope it continues. And there's a lot of reasons they got there. You talked about it's the quality of Jeff Lurie on down, but we can all feel a part of it and feel very good about ourselves and our area.
Yeah, that's one of the real cool things about the whole situation is that we all get to feel this. We all get to enjoy this. This is our Super Bowl. It's our team. It's not like it's just the team and the coaches. It goes so far beyond that. And it's an organization that understands that they are part of the community. Like that parade and watching guys get off of their floats and getting down on Broad Street so that they could go by and slap hands with folk and have a shot or drink with folks and just enjoy the people enjoying them and the success that they've had. That was so cool to watch. Because you're right, it's not just this is for everybody, dude. Everywhere we go, I've traveled with the team for a long time now, and everywhere we go, we have fans from our area that are taking over stadiums. We have fans that come from different parts of the country, even sometimes different parts of the world, and they're taking over stadiums. I love that.
Mike, I spent my elementary school years in Cherry Hill in a school called Bret Hart. I ran into at the game 4 people I went to elementary school with. They're with their kids, and I'm there with my son, and just the ability to be able to share that and do that and pass that down for generations. Yeah. I broke down when your team won the Super Bowl after the 17 season in February of 2018 in Minnesota, or when that final pass from Brady hit the ground, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I broke down and cried like a baby because I just started thinking of my grandfather, my uncle, and all the generations. And I'm sure you saw, as you're riding down Broad Street onto the Parkway, just the passion, the emotion in everybody's face, the utter joy you have brought to this city.
Yeah, it's very special. And it's probably one of the reasons I, as a kid who grew up in North Carolina, went to school at NC State, came here in 82. One of the reasons why I and many guys in my situation never left the area. It's, I think about Harold Carmichael. I think about so many guys like Jaworski, my quarterback. So many guys that moved to this area from other parts of the country, and they just never left. And a lot of it has to do with all of that love that a guy like Jaws can still feel. And he hasn't thrown a ball here in 50 years almost.
And Jaws has given so much back to this community.
He's unbelievable.
I mean, we've adopted him.
He's unbelievable. He is one of the best people that I know.
And isn't that incredible? You've known him ever since you got here. You played with him.
Yep.
And his energy, his enthusiasm, his positivity, and what he gives back, and his golf courses, which I know you get a good time on. But he's just so great. But he's not the only one. He might be the epitome of the guy who's out in the community after all these years.
No,
but
there's
it's you
so
and
many guys.
so many others. And listen, your broadcast partner, I got to give it to my cap to him. I mean, Merrill took over. I was a kid when he took over, and it was under really difficult circumstances because our play-by-play guy had taken his own life, and Merrill stepped in.
Charlie Swift.
Yeah, and I knew that voice well, and he because the blackout rule.
Damn, Gerald, I didn't know you were that old.
I was there for the 48 and 49 championship Eagles team.
My
No,
goodness.
not quite, but I've been around a long time, but back in those days, to show how the NFL was in the early 70s, you didn't have the home games on TV, so that we did listen to the broadcast of the radio broadcast.
Right.
And Merle was just a part of it. He wasn't the play-by-play early on. And anyway, this organization runs deep, and it runs through every single segment of this community. And you see it because you go around it, and everybody gives you a lot of love, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. And When I travel around to other cities and I talk to other players that live in and have stayed in other cities, I just don't believe that they have what we have. And one of the reasons why, Seth Joyner is back here now. He went out to Arizona, finished his career in Denver, and, played Green Bay. He jumped around a lot of places, but it's interesting how a guy like that now wants to be here. And he wants to be here just because of what we just finished talking about. It's because, when you play here, you want to stay here because you are a part of the community forever.
And I've told all my guys.
Like Jets. It's like Sticks and Jets. If you're a Jets, you're a Jet.
When you're a Jet all the way, but not if you're a New York Jet, because they don't stick around. And truly, those teams don't mean the same to a community because there is no community. They're just spread out. And truly, as I go around the NFL, and I've been fortunate to be in every city, there really is nothing like the Eagles.
No, there's nothing like
New Orleans is interesting because that covers a whole region, but it's just different. And that down south is college football territory. Here is NFL territory, Philadelphia Eagles territory. And Philadelphia Eagles compared to all the other teams, and it's at least probably 80 to the other 20% for the others combined. And you hear about that with ratings and things like that. But I also want to give mention to all the guys who came out here because I just want to tick them down for us. Thanks to and all these guys, but we have had such a
This is the list from the season?
Here's a list of my guests, our guest, Dave Spadaro, mine, and we're missing Dave today, but Dave did a great job hosting the parade. And I just want to thank all these guys for coming out during the season.
Is Dave big time in you tonight?
Yeah, it's not the first. Listen, Dave emceed the parade. I was at the parade, but I was at the parade with my son Griffith and a whole bunch of family and friends, and we just had a blast.
Oh, they got the parade on TV right now.
And we'll see if they have either you or the guy pegging Howie Roseman, if we can detect who that was. And by the way, just another note on Howie Roseman. So I've known him for over 25 years. And listen, in negotiating contracts, there's going to be some fights.
Sure.
We fought out a little even over David Akers and guys like that. But you come away shaking hands and respecting each other. When he got the general manager job, he called me up like right away, like an hour later. He calls me up. He goes, "Gerald, do you have any advice? What do I need to do?" And I said, "Howie, you're already doing some of this stuff great. The one thing I would recommend you do," because he was taking over for Joe Banner, really. I said, "The one thing I'd recommend you do is be nicer. Just be nicer."
Huh.
And I think he has gotten that message because his personality changed a lot and he's grown really with the position. Then he got ousted during the Chip era. And
they
stuff,
put him
and
in the closet.
He came back so much more mature and ready. And I'm very, very proud of who he is and how he developed. But I just want to thank Cooper DeJean, Zach Vaughn, Nakobe Dean.
Look at your lineup.
Blankenship. Is this incredible?
That's a great lineup.
And some of these guys, when I brought them out here, people were like, "Who is that?"
Oh, they know who Cooper is now.
Oren Burks. Okay, no, Oren started
Great
the Super
kid.
Bowl last year for San Francisco, but he got signed here as a free agent.
Great kid.
And when he stepped in for Nakobe Dean, he played terrifically. I mean, great athlete, great kid. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., of course, his father very well. Isaiah Rodgers, Britton Covey, who I love Britton Covey. Unfortunately, he got hurt early, but Britton gives you everything he could give. Rick Lovato, who unfairly, I think, got called for a penalty in the game. But
that's crazy. So the one thing that Kansas City picked up that they could use in the game was that the long snapper would make a motion before the ball was snapped, and they were able to get 2 penalties because of that. Come on, you got to scout harder than that.
That's the one thing they did well.
That's the one thing that they did well.
And by the way, getting back to what you said before about Andy Reeder, it just seemed, and you've played in a lot of games and watched a lot of games, and it's hard to necessarily tell when you're not really on the field, but it just didn't seem like Kansas City brought it that day. They just seemed so flat. Now, I know the Eagles had a lot to do with that, but you just looked at them and they just puzzled and perplexed from the start. And I felt pretty early on, this is over, despite the call that went against AJ on the first drive.
I know.
And the interception Jalen threw, they didn't let that stuff bother them
Not
whatsoever.
Not at all.
There was not missing a beat. All right, let me just finish a great list of guys who came out to help us. Fred Johnson, and another guy who's a backup lineman. Big Fred, and just a happy guy.
Big old man.
And he played some tackle, he played some guard, and he filled in when guys went down. He did it very admirably and good. Thomas Booker, a guy I love. Stanford
Awesome.
Guy, smart as could
Really
be.
bright.
He came here with his father, and I had them both on. Morrow, Ajomo.
Ajomo, yeah.
And he played terrifically in the Super Bowl.
Unbelievable in the
Like,
Super Bowl.
terrifically.
Yeah.
And I got to know his father too. His father's Nigerian and raised Moro, who's a really smart guy. Almost they looked down on sports. It was to look towards your academics. So on Sunday night after the game, when I saw him, I was like, "How do you feel about it now?" He was just a very, very proud father, and as he should be.
So Ajomo is one of these guys that, if you have any time, you spend any time with him, he's going to be one of these guys very successful outside of football. Whenever he decides to do whatever he decides to do, he's going to be a very successful person.
But Mike, on that point, to make it to the National Football League takes so much.
Yes.
Every one of you has a story.
Yep.
Not just Vince Papale. Every one of you has a story. Sorry. Didn't mean to bend you up. But you have to deal with so much, overcome so much. You have to be supported by family, friends, coaches, and you also have to go through 3 years of college. So dummies can't survive.
That's correct.
And you have to learn a playbook and all that stuff. So I have really felt that most guys I've met that have made it to the National Football League can succeed at anything they put their mind to in life.
I agree. It takes a discipline that I would venture to say that a lot of people just don't have. It's a different type of discipline.
Well, you know what it's like to be a student athlete back when it really was a student athlete, where you had to go to class.
Yes.
They weren't necessarily helping you that much at NC State. And you also had to know your playbook and perform on the field and all those things. And you weren't getting paid $1 million. Maybe you were, but you were
not $1 million, but
it's not.
There was no NIL.
Right. But anyway, well, at NC State, when you were there on the Jim Valvano basketball team,
just don't let them know.
The 83 championship. I mean, basketball is king down there.
It is.
And it still is. Okay. And I'm going to add Tanner McKee. I want to make a reference to Tanner McKee.
Love Tanner.
Because I think Tanner is a starting quarterback.
So do I.
Okay.
I tell him that all the time.
And so I just want to put a little thought out there that no one said, and I'm not rooting for this, but Tanner's going to start, and it's probably not going to be here because we have Jalen Hurts. Kellen Moore just went to the New Orleans Saints. Tanner McKee, I'm calling it, will be a New Orleans Saints starting quarterback in the next year or two.
I could very easily see that.
Good call.
And I know that Kellen Moore would love to have Tanner McKee. I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL.
He's just a terrific person, and he did a great job when he was in there. Can do all the things you need a quarterback.
He's a stud quarterback.
He is, and he's big. He's
big arm.
Yep, and just another great guy. Will Shipley, and Will came out here after his tremendous performance in the championship game. After
his touchdown game.
He came out before that, but then after the touchdown game, and he had a terrific championship game. Got a fumble recovery, four carries down the field, finally got into the end zone, and I'll pull out the picture to show you. I took him to the Sixers game 2 nights later. Now everyone in this region is watching the Philadelphia Eagles. Everyone knows, everything about them, what their names are, but they don't necessarily know what they look like. And you've experienced this, the anonymity of the helmet, and it was just so funny to be at the Sixers game 2 days after he had that electrifying performance, and almost nobody recognized him. And it was really just funny. But he's a Super Bowl champion, and like all these, and I think he's a guy who could really play in the league too.
Well, LeBron apologized to
who did he
Cooper.
Snub? He snubbed Cooper?
Yeah, because he was at a game with Cooper, and then when he found out later who Cooper was, he apologized to him because he didn't say hello to him, and he said hello to all the other guys.
And there's Pete. Pete, you got to get up here. Pete,
it's a repeat.
This is little Pete. Pete, the Pete Cherokee family at here, Chickens and Pete. Look at the picture of myself with the star of one of the stars of the NFC Championship game, and you can see why no one knows it. It looks like myself with my son. Even my sons are bigger, but it's just another terrific young man. And then we had Jalix Hunt, who is one of those guys that is going to be a star.
He's going to be awesome.
He's going to be a star.
Yeah.
And listen,
and a brilliant guy.
Another brilliant guy,
Yeah.
Cornell. And it switches to Abilene Baptist now, which is
Houston Baptist.
Houston Baptist,
Yeah.
okay, which is I mixed up because it was Houston Christian or Houston, whatever it was. But Houston Baptist and Cornell, and he winds up
Houston
and he played safety at Cornell just a couple years ago.
He played
and
safety.
There he is wreaking havoc on the field at the Super Bowl just 2 years later, and just another brilliant guy. And then a couple of the classic guys, and Seth Joyner and Mike Quick that came out to help us out here and share their wisdom and their
We had
passion.
Seth last week, 2
I
weeks ago.
had Seth right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you know how fiery he was.
Oh, Seth.
I mean, that's the part when you say Seth, came back to this area. It's one of the things as a player, your college area loves you, your hometown loves you, and the place you play if you really make a difference in the NFL. Now, when you were, of course, a first-round pick, a 5-time All-Pro or a Pro Bowler, and you were just a terrific player. But even anybody who just was a Philadelphia Eagle can make a home here and be appreciated in the community and loved. But Seth Joyner matches the passion of this city so well.
Yeah,
he can't
does.
live out in Arizona.
Yeah.
He's a Philadelphian, no matter what. Even though he comes from Texas or down south, he is.
No, he's actually born in New York. Seth is from New York.
All right, that
He went
explains
to,
a lot.
he went
of
to
him.
UTEP. You went to Texas. El Paso.
I haven't coming out of Western Texas.
No.
Paso.
Went down to UTEP because he just didn't get heavily recruited. Late round pick. I remember when the
He was
day
like a
with
fifth round.
Buddy
No,
Ryan.
he was after fifth. He was
6. I remember the day
Yeah.
that Buddy Ryan cut him. Buddy released him.
May have been 8th round. but
Buddy,
they had that.
he could have.
I think he was after this. Now they have the 7,
And
Buddy cut him.
And I knew that Buddy was going to bring him back, but he had to do one of these roster moves where he released Seth, and then 3 or 4 days we saw Seth with his. Back then, you always took a trash bag and threw all your things in the trash bag. So we saw walking back in about 3 or 4 days with his trash bag over his shoulder, with all of his shoes and things, and to go back into his locker.
That's all the luggage you could afford back then.
That's all we
bag.
needed.
And
everybody left with a big black trash bag.
But Mike, it's also was Seth
Sign
as
of the
intense.
time. Oh yeah,
back then he was one of the most intense people I've ever known.
Yeah.
He's so smart and so passionate and so
He
good.
is. He is. All of that.
I kept running to him everywhere in New Orleans, and we kept laughing. Can't get away from each other, and he was doing it up down there. Very, very, very stylish.
Yes.
He dresses unbelievably. So
He's in the fashion business. He's in the haberdashery.
He pulls colors together. I'm looking at the screen now. You've got BG with Dave Spadera behind him. So Dave is here in spirit, but not actually physically. But he's been, of course, a great part of the show all year, and I really appreciate it. I want Pete Cherokee III over there to come over here. You got to get up here.
Repeat.
All right. He's respecting his elders. Didn't move when I said it. As soon as you said repeat, he's coming up here. So, Pete, I got to thank you, your father, all the people here at Chickies and Pete's. I love your staff here at Marlton. They treat us so well. And Chickies and Pete's has been having me for 5 years. It started out with Rodney McLeod. The next year was Dallas Goedert, Devontae Maddox. Then we had TJ Edwards. And we've had this cast of thousands the last couple of years. And just thank you so much for your support, for being so good to us. It has been so much fun to be here every Monday night. This has been incredible. But I know you got to share in all the festivities down in Nolens.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for another great year. It seems to be good luck,
Whoa!
Yeah, having this is.
You didn't know I'm the reason you win.
Yeah. And we saved the best guest, at least the best looking, for last, which is always great. I noticed a big female demo in here tonight. They must have got the word out. Yes, thank you so much for another great year. New Orleans was great, but man, being here every Monday with the people of Philadelphia, having great guests. We had a really great lineup this year. It was really, really a lot of fun.
And Pete,
to do it again.
you and your family have done such a great job. I've known your father now for over 40 years and love him and appreciate him so much. And, talk about passion. That is the passionate Philadelphia fan who also has incorporated into business. And there's no place better to go than Chickies and Pete's. Mike Quick can be found there after every game.
It's the spot. It is the spot, and everyone knows that. I want to know this, though. Where were you during the parade?
Working. I
Mike,
was in South Philadelphia.
He's
Chickies
so
and
hardworking.
Pete's. Yeah, we were mobbed. We had people camped out of really all of our location, but in South Philly, they had literally tents outside of our front doors lined up to get a good spot at the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles. The thing that we had that the parade didn't, we had heaters, great food, bathrooms.
Yeah, well.
We also had cold beer and drinks and surf sides and everything. So there was a line to get, and we had a lot of call outs. All the kids work, and not everybody showed up that day. Everybody seemed to get sick.
Pete, I want you to also describe, because I was with you down in Nolens, and your father one day, I think it was a Saturday morning before the game, and he's like, one day before, and the family's meeting for a brunch. Your family goes, Well, Pete's back in the hotel working, and I'm so proud of you for how hard you work. But talk about what Super Bowl Sunday was like. I know you weren't here, but at all your Chickies and Pete's over the region.
Yeah, our team really at every single location really wanted to do something special for our guests. So we had rally towels made. We had a lot of our different partners, Bird Gang Baca, shout out to them for sponsoring us, getting some stuff put together. We put an exclusive game day menu together, had a DJ, had a live feed of our fans inside Chickies and Pete's, broadcasting to all the different locations, face painters, camera people. It was great. It was a lot of hard work that our team had to put in.
Wow.
But we really created, it's the busiest day in history.
Jen, where were you?
Jen was working. Yeah, Jen
was in Glassboro.
None of it possible
Can we
without
get a
our
bottle of
team.
champagne? Can we get a bottle of champagne? We got to pop this before. Is there any champagne around here? I want to be able to celebrate with Pete and Mike right here. And but Pete, Chickies and Pete's doesn't close with the end of the Eagle season. So we got Sixers and Flyers will be in home stretch. Sixers haven't had a glorious season. Maybe it turns around. Then it's Phillies baseball and all the other stuff will be March Madness and a whole lot of
March Madness coming up. We got hockey tonight, right? USA hockey. That's
USA hockey is fun.
No, it's not tonight.
No,
USA
Thursday
against Canada. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They had 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the night. Like you got to watch a championship game on Thursday night. This little tournament is pretty good, a lot better than the NBA All-Star game. But Pete, thanks for all you do for the community. This really is the place to watch sports on TV, to come for a sports bar. Your food is terrific. Your atmosphere is great. Your staff is great. And thanks for having us. And hope to do it again next year because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's been good luck.
All right, pal. And how was your trip? How much did you love being down there?
It's great. It's our brotherly city in the South there. It's very similar to Philly. I love it. I love being with the people. We love a parade in the street, and nobody does it better than Philadelphia and New Orleans.
But it's a lot smaller in New Orleans, just down a few blocks. We do it all the way through the city, all the way down Broad, all the way up the Parkway, and let's keep doing it again and again. So listen, I got to thank you, Pete, and your staff, and Mike Quick so much for joining us because you have had a long season. Are you more tired now or after the season when you played?
Oh, after the season when I played, we never went anywhere else. When the regular season was over, we were done. This has been a long, long season, and I'm tired and ready to rest. Go Birds.
Go Birds, and thanks. And listen, again, how many seasons has it been for you and Merrill?
For Merrill, 47, 48,
and you as his partner?
26 for me. 26 years.
Well, we hope to hear you again and again and again.
That's a
and
long time.
we got to share this now. A little champagne toast. I want to thank John Jensen. He's here every week, has us on, got us on the screen.
Thanks,
has
John.
Us on the radio, and we're streaming everywhere as well. And he's been so valuable to me. Who's back in the studio, John? Nick McClay. Thank you so much for always being there for us and all the people over at Fox Sports The Gambler. So wait, we got to do this because it has been an unbelievable season. And I don't know if you had any champagne on Sunday night, Mike. Did you?
No.
You may not want any now, but we're going to do it.
I'll
and,
at least taste
and to the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, champions of Super Bowl 59. Congratulations. Thank you for an amazing, amazing season. And let's see if this makes any noise. There you go. It's all you. You come out here every week. Thank you for your support. Have a great off season. And we go ahead, Frank. We, the Philadelphia Eagles, are the world champions.
Go Birds.
Looking to elevate your golf game? Welcome to Penn Club on 2nd, in the heart of Conshohocken. With over 350 courses to choose from, 3 state-of-the-art simulator bays powered by TrackMan technology, and a members-only clubhouse open 7 days a week. We're all about the ultimate golfing experience. Enjoy the perks of a family-owned club with affordable membership options for individuals, teams, and even corporate groups. Conveniently located near major highways, you can bring your own beverages and enjoy